Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of B is for Build. In today's episode, why won't the Supra start? We treated it really nicely. We gave it new gas, we changed its oil, we looked at its spark plugs, gave it plenty of air, in theory. We even modified the exhaust. So why won't it start? I think it's a fuel related issue, but we're gonna find out. I'm gonna walk you exactly through how I would go about diagnosing this, because that's what I have to do today. I gotta diagnose this thing. And then whatever the problem may be, we're gonna try and solve it, and we're gonna fire the thing up. If you're seeing this, it means we solved it. Spoiler alert, but you gotta see till the end of what we did, because that's how shows work. You wouldn't fast forward to the end of Jeopardy, would you? All right, with no further ado, let's get started. Before we get down to work, I want to take a second out to thank our sponsor. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Metal Supermarkets. Metal Supermarkets is basically a convenience store for metal. It's any metal, any size, cut and ready really fast. There's no minimum order quantity, so it's great for people like us. Like if you're a car guy and you just need like one piece, or if you're a hobbyist and you need a small piece, you don't have to worry about that. Their speed of service is phenomenal. I sometimes call ahead, but sometimes I just walk right in, say, hey, this is the piece that I need, get it cut and get on my way. And for me, what really sets Metal Supermarket aside is their level of customer service, the level of employees that they hire is really special, and it's not something you're gonna find in a lot of other places. They're extremely knowledgeable about what they do and the different types of metal that they can provide for you and how you might be able to problem solve. And they're also just really nice, they're very kind. And you know, when I walked in there as a complete newbie, knowing absolutely nothing about cars, and now we, chat and tell them updates about the projects, and we bring project cars down there to show them and stuff like that too. So it's been a relationship that I've had with them for a really long time, and they're really good people. And those great people can also help you source really hard to find metals as well. If you're looking for something that they don't stock, but they stock a variety of different metals and different grades and different types. So guys, if you're a car builder or you're a hobbyist or anything revolving around metal and you think, oh, I need a piece of metal for this project, look no further, go to metalsupermarkets.com. It's right here on the screen, it's in the description. You can look on their website and find a location near you. They have over 100 locations worldwide, or you can even shop online. So go check it out. Thanks to Metal Supermarkets for sponsoring this episode. Let's get down to it. So on our last episode, I really expected this thing to start, and then it just ain't got no start. And if you guys remember, when I keyed on the key, the squirt cam down here for a very open fuel line caught 0 squirtage, indicating to me that we're not getting fuel pressure. So that's what I'm gonna diagnose first, and I'm gonna jump into it. I'd say there's 2 places you could start. If your fuel pump isn't easy to access, you could go straight for the fuse. Almost every vehicle has a fuse for its fuel pump, and you can start by seeing if there's power going to the fuse. My fuel pump is really, really easy to access. It's here in the trunk, I found out. So let's go ahead and jump in here and get access to the fuel pump, and I'm just gonna go straight to the source, see if this baby's getting power. See if I can find my handy dandy super key, shove it in my, that's my house key. That's the super key, okay. And the fuel pump is right back here. This may look familiar as the place that we were looking for beer earlier, and weirdly enough, we should have been checking for fuel pump. It's so clean, I love how clean everything is on this car. It's so cool to have a collectible car and have it not be an old 90s wreck. All right, I read some tutorial stuff. What is this? Chalk, that's interesting. I wonder if that's like part of their safety kit that they have to have, or if we just had an old school teacher as the previous owner. Hey. All right, I read a tutorial online. Underneath here seems to be where the fuel pump lives. I'm gonna take this lid off. All right, popping this lid off, and then we went for the plug going into the kind of like fuel pump housing. So on this plug, there's 5 prongs. It's not unnormal. A lot of this is going to be fuel level sending. So that's, your float level, telling the car how much fuel it has in here. And then you can see a big gauge wire in the back here, blue, white. That is our power and ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be probing with the multimeter, the voltmeter. I'm going to probe both of these and see how many volts we catch across the wire when we're doing the key in different types of positions, key on, key off, and see if we got power coming through here. All right guys, so I isolated where the wires went to the pins. I didn't really want to stab these things into the back of the wires because these are a little dull. If you're not, if you're new to a multimeter, this is just a little thing you can get down at Harbor Freight. It's very, very inexpensive. Stick it to DC 20 and throw your wires in those holes there. And basically if you go to a positive and a negative, it'll show positive numbers here. Cars run on normally like 12 volts. If you have it backwards, it's going to show negative numbers here. And that's how it was the first time. Kyle, go ahead and cycle the key. So Kyle's cycling the key right there, and it jumps up to about 11.9 volts, which is, essentially 12 volts. And then it's going to walk its way down. I think this is part of the priming process. I'm not really sure why it's walking its way down. That's interesting, but doesn't really tell us much, other than we know that we were sending power to the pump. So this is a very, very good tool. If you're new to automotive, very, very good tool to have, good tool to learn. And also you can learn about resistances to tell if wires are connected all the way through by checking resistances. So something worth buying and having, and also maybe watching a little YouTube video on to make sure that you master it. So what that tells us right away, really easily, we don't have to check the fuse in the front. We were sending power to the fuel pump. Fuel pump wasn't doing anything. That means now I need to dig into here more. So I'm seeing a banjo bolt here for fuel line. I'm going to go ahead and take off. These look like they're just the rubber constant pressure clamps. Those are going to be taken off. And then you got a big old hose clamp right there. And then I'm going to spin this guy to the left. Now what I read online is that you want to use something like a wooden block or something that's a little bit less jarring than maybe say a flathead screwdriver or something, so you don't snap this plastic ring. If we break that ring, we're going to be in big trouble. So they recommended maybe a rubber work glove on the end of a piece of wood, just so it doesn't have a lot of shock being transferred through. So I'm going to be very gentle. I actually have the proper tool to unscrew this, so I'm going to use that instead. Do we remember where that is? Anybody remember? It's around. We just saw it. Yeah. We used it years ago on a BMW. But anyways, yeah, we'll use the actual ring tool and take this guy off here. All right, fuel pump, fuel sending level unit, and mystery diode thingy. These are all out for testing. So it looks bad. That's because, it's an old car. It's probably fine looking like this. The only thing that really is like a little bit of a question mark for me is there's a bunch of black sludge there. It looks like they use some non-fuel safe type of stuff on the bottom. Let me see if I can flip this over. And that's just like goobery gunk, and it's that's not cool, but the fuel should be coming in through this filter here and still be fine. Anyways, I'm assuming this fuel pump is shot. That's my guess, and we're here to bench test it. So the way you do that is I've just grabbed any random battery I had around the shop, and you're going to want to put 12 volts to the positive and ground. We're going to be doing it by this guy, so I can do it one-handedly. So this is hooked up to the positive and ground, and we're going to send it power. We're sending it's taking 6 volts. Hang on, let me do that again. Right here, it's taking 6 volts happily. Pump is not running. We've got nothing coming out of the pump. So, the pump is bad on this car. Very weird that it would just go bad while it was sitting, but not unheard of. Now, if you were stranded, could you make this pump work? I bet if you banged on it a lot, you could probably get it to kind of unstick itself and it would go. We could test it. Kyle, you got a banging tool around here? Just give it a light banging here. This is only for like if you're bushcrafting. You don't want to do this and then be halfway down the highway and have your thing unfix itself. Didn't fix it. Couldn't bang it back to life. Given that didn't work, I'm oddly surprised. I'm actually going to bypass all the wires now, pull the fuel pump out of here, and get to the fuel pumps, positive and negative, just to make sure. All right, got the pump itself isolated. I'm going to try and pin it here. And send power. Nothing. Okay, pump is officially dead. Now, I need to upgrade this pump because I want to put more power through this car anyways. I don't know exactly how much pump this car can handle. I'm going to have to look online. Here's the idea. The bigger you make the fuel pump, the more fuel it's obviously going to push through the system. Every car has a fuel pressure regulator built into it to make sure that it's giving a consistent fuel pressure to your fuel line. If you have too much pump, it'll overpower that fuel pressure regulator and you will have too much pressure at the fuel line, and that will cause tuning problems all the way throughout. It causes nightmares because your injectors will be squirting more fuel than they think they are. The car will try and adjust for it, but it can be a nightmare. So I'm just gonna see what they got around here, but it's probably gonna be a Google around, make a somewhat educated decision just for this episode, and then call my boys at Deechworks and get the real deal jammy. But I'd really like to just get this car started today, and I bet this is a relatively cheap part, so I'm kind of willing to just maybe blow the 50, 60, 70 bucks to get the car started today, and then I'm gonna let Deechworks handle the dialing in of the proper fuel pump upgrade for me. All right, guys, ran down to the auto parts store, got a not plug and play pump. I'll have to do a little bit of modifying, but I got a pump that'll work. This is actually for a turbo Supra, but I think we're gonna, by the time we're done doing performance upgrades, we're gonna need more than this. So I'll be calling the guys at Deechworks, but I blew the 150 bucks just to be able to get the car running today and make sure that we're not gonna run into any other hiccups that I don't know about either. It's very important. So what I gotta do here, snip the plug on the end, put some ring terminals on the end there, fix it to this pump, and then plug this pump in, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. All right, that's the new temporary pump installed. So you can see I just put some ring terminals on the end of that pigtail, ran it into the pump, then put the pump's feed line into the feed here, and got it in here. Now it is like, it's not going anywhere, but if this was a real one, order metal zip ties on Amazon or somewhere and do a nice metal zip tie around here. Don't use a plastic one because it'll probably melt eventually in the fuel. This guy's good to go. Back into the car, and we'll go ahead and pressurize it and see how it does. Well, we'll put power to it and see if it pressurizes. Let me say it like that. Fuel pump assembly is back in the car. This plastic thing was being such a pain. So Oscar really wanted to heat it up with hot water and put it on there, and he got it to work. So I said, you do you, man. So now we're gonna go ahead and prime the system and make sure we don't have any leaks. All right, I am priming. I didn't hear anything.
I didn't hear anything either.
Come on, car. What are you doing to us? Well, you know what we do now, right?
Pray.
Just start the car. Say there's a 70 to 95% chance that this won't start because the pump should be priming. But we just keep thinking Supras are unique and it's different than every other car and that there might be a shot. It's just really hopeful thinking. All right, give our unprimed fuel system a test. There we go. Cool. Okay.
Now it's going.
I went key all the way to the right and it sprayed fuel somewhere.
Underneath the car over there.
Squirt cam, we didn't have the squirt cam going. That's a lot of fuel. Okay, so the fuel pump's working. I had trouble with a bolt down there during the last episode. I'm really hoping it's not toast and not make it a seal anymore. Oh, that would be such a problem. But be really safe if you're dealing with an issue like this. First thing would probably be do what I'm gonna do. Take the post off the battery, then grab some towels, clean the live gasoline out of your work area so you don't light yourself on fire under a car. You don't want to light yourself on fire around a car at all, but being under there is a bad place to die. Welcome to Underneath the Supra. So in the last episode, we took this fuel filter, we undid this bolt right here and then kind of tilted this whole unit down to try and drain fuel out, which didn't work very well. This bolt is a stubborn one, but it's still safe and it's still in there and it's actually still holding fuel, so that's fine. Right here is where we were squirting from. It's a banjo bolt situation and I probably didn't put the crush rings in the right spot or something like that. So I got to take that apart again and reassemble it properly. Found the crush washer in our oil pan tray. Now those are not reusable in the long run, so I'll have to make a mental note to replace those. But I got that back on there. Got the squirt cam running. Oscar, let's try and prime this baby and see what happens. Most cars, you get into the accessory mode on and you'll hear it prime up. This one, I had to kind of start going to the start and then it hit the fuel pump. Okay, so I'm assuming squirt cam.
I'm not seeing any leaks anywhere.
Squirt cam's clean. Okay. I think we should be expecting a start now.
I think so.
All right, let's set you guys up. Oscar, you ready?
I'm ready.
We know where fire extinguishers are?
We should probably have one close. Let me grab one.
Yeah, there's like one right behind you. Okay, so it doesn't want to idle.
Interesting.
That could be the bad gas.
Yeah.
So what we did see when we got into the gas is that there's a lot of gas in there. There's our good 5 gallons, and then there's the 4-year-old JDM. Let me read the gas gauge. About 5 gallons. So let's see if we can run it through. That's the power steering pump making some sounds because the line is crimped. So it's pissed. So I'm holding it down at about like 1,000 RPM. I'm gonna go ahead and let off and see if it kills it.
That is making some interesting sounds.
That's the fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, I'm gonna fire it up one more time. It does run. It's most likely pissed off about the fuel. But Oscar, I'm gonna fire it up one more time so you can look for, look at the belt, the serpentine belt, make sure that it's running cleanly. And the fan, I don't know, don't risk getting your fingers hit.
I'm just gonna hold it.
Yeah, I know the fan's hitting the shroud a little bit. It's pissed from the collision. All right, here we go. That look good?
Sounds good. Looks good.
Let's see if it'll idle. Come on, idle for me. It's idling! Yay! All right. Supra power!
Sounds good.
We've got a lot to unlock from this beast, but that's a healthy engine. I mean, we've definitely looked through it up and down. That's pretty cool. Oh, yeah, that's smoky. It's that bad fuel. I will drain the fuel out of there.
It sounds pretty smooth in the front without the power steering puck making off.
Yeah, minus power steering line crimped and minus the, so that fan right now is a clutch driven fan that goes off the crank, the front of the engine. And we're gonna be switching that out for a electronic fan and a new radiator as well. We're just upgrading all that stuff while we're in there. Got a lot of, we're working with all of our sponsors, you guys know them all, and we got a lot of cool stuff coming out of the engine bay. That's a lot of car exhaust and I don't like being around it. Let's go in the other room. Heck yeah, man. I'm so happy that we got this thing like figured out and fixed. I wasn't super worried about it because the engine sounded good in the last episode, but knowing that we could get it like honestly, when it didn't prime, that did worry me. But getting it all fixed in a day, that's pretty cool. So we troubleshoot it front to back, how I would do it. If you guys have these types of problems at home, remember it's air, fuel, spark, lube, and that's how I troubleshoot a fuel system from beginning to end. If we would have got down to the fuel pump area and we'd have been testing those wires and they didn't have any power, then obviously I'd be looking at the fuse, and then you got to go further back to is the computer actually turned on for the car and is the key and stuff like that. Anyways, off of the Supra and on to, we fixed a Prius, but that's neither here nor there. We just followed a Chris Fix video, so I think everybody knows how to do that now. Boat stuff. Lots of comments about the boat that I've been seeing lately. Just so you guys know, the reason you're not seeing Oscar a lot in these videos is he's working every day on the boat stuff. And this is it's a big job to button up these engines and get it all done. And we've had a lot of progress that I want to show you. So since you've last seen this, everything's been painted with that marine grade 2-stage epoxy. So you got our trans cooler right here, all painted up. Got our inline oil cooler is AWOL. Oscar moved that for some reason. This is all painted up. The exhaust manifolds have been modified and all this stuff is coming together, and he's starting to work on all of the plumbing. So you can see we've actually got some of the plumbing lines ran. We are not far from time to get these things moving over into the boat. The next episode that you're gonna see is when we pick up progress, basically get past where this one is, and we'll probably be bench testing them and installing them in the boat. So the other thing is we got new wiring harnesses, because the last wiring harness we used on these engines went into the Jumpicon, so we could get that thing running really quickly. So we're rerouting a few wires here and there on the wiring harnesses, and we're gonna make sure that these both have matching wiring harnesses and matching ECUs. You wanna have everything matching on a boat for redundancy. In case one engine goes bad, you can steal a part from one, make sure you have one still running, and go from there. But yeah, progress is scooting along with these things, and we should be getting these over to the boat in not too long. We'll definitely have the boat finished this summer and be able to enjoy it a little bit in the summer weather. I'm really excited to run these things. It's a lot of time and money that we've invested in this, and I think it's gonna pay off huge. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hey, if you didn't see already, on the second channel, we got an episode. We went and raced the 24 Hours of Lemons again, but this time Kyle got to drive. We had 3 other new drivers. It was a blast. We made an episode about it, put it on the second channel. That channel is called Behind the Build, and there's a link in the description, so go check that out. It was a really fun time and a great video to see. Other than that, in the next episode here, I'm gonna be diving in deeper. I'm gonna be taking out some of the bad metal and prepping for the new parts that are on their way. So that'll be in the next episode, and I'll see you then. Peace!